As entrepreneurs, we need to be ambitious first for our business and second for ourselves. Because when we put the needs of the business first, the business is going to grow. It's not to say that, you shouldn't sleep or eat, that you should, generally hate your work to the point of mental health decline or anything like that. But when we do that, when we come at it with that mindset, what does the business need? We're going to be asking that question on a regular basis. We're going to be saying, like, regardless of what my preferences are, if the business is almost like a child, right, and we are the child's caretaker, what does your company need you to do today in order for it to grow? And at some of the points of highest growth, I would constantly reflect. I would journal daily, and I'd always be asking, okay, what is my highest point of leverage for growing the business right now? And I'd make a list, right? Now, I found a sort of cousin or sister question to this, which I think is also really helpful and I think even more impactful, because what you want to do is ask yourself this question daily, because when you do, it's going to trigger you to take action. It's going to help you to identify, again, what is the most important thing that you should be doing today. And it goes hand in hand with the very fundamental definition of what it means to be a leader in business, a business owner, or an entrepreneur, which I'll come to a little bit later in this video. So this question comes from another entrepreneur who is sort of retired. He's more of an influencer and an investor now, and he advises 8- and 9-figure companies. So what he encourages his clients, other business owners and entrepreneurs, to ask themselves daily is, what is the number one bottleneck holding back growth right now? And what have I done today to allocate resources to alleviate it? So it's persuasive because it helps to hold you accountable on a daily basis in terms of assuming the sale, assuming that you have in fact taken this question to heart and that you have acted on it. And if you haven't, well, the implicit question is why, right? Your business wants to grow. You want your company to grow. It's an accountability mechanism, and it's very simple. Now, the other question that I posed before, like finding, what is my highest point of leverage? That question is also good, but each question is useful in different ways for helping you to accelerate the growth of your business. The leverage question is actually better when you don't know where or what to focus on, or if this accountability question, and here's like the number one bottleneck and what have you done to allocate resources to alleviate it. If you know what your number one bottleneck is, and you've also already allocated resources, and it doesn't make sense to allocate more, but maybe because you need to wait to see the result, like your team is currently working on it, or some sort of a third party like an agency or a consultant or a contractor or something is working on taking action on your behalf to alleviate it. Or maybe you've set up and are running some tests and it just is not practical to do further action to attack, to open up that bottleneck to cause additional growth until you actually see additional kind of data or results or the actual task or project, having gotten done. So if that's the case, then the leverage question is what you need to be asking instead. What is my highest point of leverage for growing the business? And you want to brainstorm the options, and you want to understand, okay, of those options, what are the easiest to work on? What are the highest impact, and which ones are most likely to actually achieve, some sort of result, in terms of like what you would expect them to achieve. So again, it's the ease with which you can actually attack that highest point of leverage. And the highest point of leverage doesn't necessarily have to be thought of as like a problem, like I need more leads or I need to increase our conversion rate. It could be more tactical. It could be more solution oriented. Like, okay, highest point of leverage could be, hiring an additional sales rep, or A/B testing, our landing page, for example. So what's the ease of implementation, or the ease of solving it in the case of it being framed as a problem? What's the likelihood that it's actually going to work to move the needle in a meaningful way? And to what extent, assuming that does work, to what level will the impact actually be to your bottom line or top line revenue? Before we go further, just if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Ackerson. In 2021, I grew my company Grovo 936% in 8 months to $1.2 million in revenue. It was the first time that we became a $1 million company, and we've since gone on to become a multi-million dollar company in terms of aggregate revenue. And I think that this 936% growth in 8 months is even more impressive when you consider that we sell a tech-enabled service. So we are both, developing our own software, as well as needing to coordinate, human talent on a quite large scale. So in the span of that 8 months, where we grew very rapidly, we hired and trained 43 remote professionals in that time period. So that was even more of a challenge. So these videos are designed to share the journey with you in a way that is real, raw, relatable, and useful as we go towards our goal, our very ambitious goal of $1 million in profit per month. And these videos are also an accountability mechanism for me to stay consistent in a way that is public. So I hope you find them useful, valuable, and perhaps entertaining, because I have an amazing sense of humor. Getting back to the point and the focus of this video, with the 2 questions. So we went over when you should be using each, just to recap the daily bottleneck question. And, this should be kind of like an internal or external, in the case of journaling, daily accountability focus. The leverage question kind of should come in more intermittently once you have already allocated resources and the number 1 bottleneck is in progress to being solved based on your hypothesis for what exactly the solution is in terms of the implementation happening, right? So if the implementation is happening or that number 1 bottleneck is solved, then you revert back to the question of what is my highest point of leverage now? What should I be focused on now to grow a business even faster? And you can organize that list of ideas under the leverage question of ease of implementation, difficulty, and likelihood to actually work. So if we zoom out though, because I really want you to kind of get what is what are we doing here with this tactical question? I mean, it is tactical to be asking ourselves the question, right? But obviously it's also strategic in the sense that it leads to us thinking and planning and what is the big picture of how do we achieve growth? So in terms of a business 101 foundation, though, if we are to zoom out, what is an entrepreneur doing? What is a business owner, a business leader who is effective actually doing? Well, at a fundamental level, the market rewards us, entrepreneurs, business leaders, for better organizing labor and capital in a way that is useful to society. And the more correct way that we allocate capital, human capital and, in terms of people and actually assets and other resources of the company, it leads to us earning more money, the company making more sales, more revenue, more profits. So therefore, in this most basic way, our job constantly, day to day, is to be thinking about how do we best organize and allocate capital, people, resources, assets. And I think that this is a useful mindset, whether you are the leader of a team of 1,000 people or just a team of 1, which some of the people watching this video certainly are. I am a solo founder. And even in my daily routine, I actually split my mindset into 2 parts, where I am CEO on the one part and I'm thinking as an employee on the other part. So CEO Matt, for example, is strategic, reflecting, problem solution oriented. I'm journaling at the end of the day. Versus employee Matt, this is I'm almost siloing myself to when I'm in employee mode. I'm just executing whatever the CEO thought was best in terms of achieving the big picture of, how do we grow? How do we have better operations? How do we offer a better tech-enabled service, etc. So employee Matt is just focused on executing. At the end of the day, I do the loop again. Okay, what's the number 1 bottleneck? How did I allocate resources today? Or what's the highest point of leverage? And I'm reflecting and I'm journaling and I'm finding, what is that best way to allocate my time? And that's also even in the context of, me having a team now, which I didn't have when I just started out years ago. So siloing my thinking in this way has always worked exceptionally well to grow my company when done consistently and when married with a reflection mechanism, which is journaling, where I'm writing in a notebook daily. I'm thinking about, because journaling itself and asking these questions and actually not just talking out loud, because you know, some people like to do like a voice recorder, but actually writing it down and then being able to see it, there's some sort of psychological trick, at least for me. I think it happens for, I think probably maybe most people, maybe all people, but there's something about like physically externalizing it where it's not just recorded in terms of voice. And the act of writing it, it forces you to slow down, right? So your mind is more of like an analytical space. It's hard to describe, but it kind of works like magic. It's not, right? There's some sort of biological, chemical, neurological mechanism at play here, right? But the number of just micro and mini epiphanies that I've had at various stages of the business from doing this, from having this exercise, where it's like learnings and insights are immediately crystallized and realized through the process of writing just a page a day, where my brain would be moving at a much faster and much more disorganized clip if I'm just sitting and thinking, which itself is useful, yes. But then talking is kind of another level. It kind of, again, the point of, some people like just naturally, you might be one of them, they talk out loud, and it's a proven way to just sort of like focus your thoughts, right? Because you can only think as fast as you can talk, so you're talking in sort of like a linear way. And journaling is like that too, but it's just a different mechanism, and it's slowing down the thinking even more. And it just sort of helps you to abstract away emotion, which is also useful. So this is though the daily practice that led to my company making our first 6 figures, including our first year in business. It's what I did when we reached 36K MRR within 5 months of relaunching after I refined the offer and refined the operations back in 2019. And that was before, you know, we have the service that we are offering today. And then refining it and launching it again and having the conviction of knowing, okay, this is going to work. Even at the height of COVID, when our revenue was just tanking, everyone's, you know, the whole economy had fallen off a cliff, everything was shut down. Time in history when, you know, none of us really want to remember, I'm sure. But it was even in the midst of that this mechanism of asking these daily questions and then reflecting on it, this is what triggered 936% growth in 8 months leading into 2021. So it works. It works from experience. Now, in terms of what is our current bottleneck and how are we applying this today? Well, our current bottleneck as a company is, like many companies, maybe yours, is lead generation. So lead generation being our number one bottleneck right now, because traffic to our website, historically, like we used to receive a lot of it, a lot of organic traffic from Google because we were well optimized for certain keywords and we were an authority on things like conversions and sales funnels, on different marketing tactics and case studies. And Google, though, however, you know, this little known thing called ChatGPT came out, which, you know, really kicked off the AI revolution in terms of mainstream. And as a result of Google actually incorporating AI overviews now at the top of search results, it's led to business websites, perhaps like yours as well, seeing drops of 60 to 90% in organic traffic over the last year or two at the time of this video. So this may not feel fair, you know, we can be upset about it, but in business, we have to accept what is in front of us and we need to deal with it in order to actually move forward and to figure out how to grow, how to adapt. And in our case, hindsight's 2020, but we were too reliant on search engine traffic. And I was too skeptical for too long about social media being an excellent source of referrals and traffic and business, and a way just to achieve more visibility. So that's what we're playing catch up on a little bit now. So our solution is implementing the Grobo marketing flywheel, which is basically going to turn our marketing operation, which was previously only focused on like, okay, publishing, you know, a few quality articles per week, and now publishing on a daily basis, videos like this, but also reels, social media posts that are tailored to each of the 5 marketing platforms, social media marketing platforms rather, that we're going after. And so we're going to be producing a much higher volume of content and daily quality content that is then sliced and syndicated throughout social media channels that we're going after. So this higher volume, this is intentional. And the idea with the marketing flywheel, again, the marketing flywheel, if you go back a few days in this series, you'll see me talking about the Grobo marketing flywheel in detail. So I encourage you to check that out if this is of interest to you. But the higher volume in this simple system is intentional because it's just going to help us to learn faster by getting more out there at a higher clip. And this will tell us like what to double down on, what works better in certain channels versus others. And round we go, rinse and repeat every day. This should learn as long as we continuously are able to learn faster and get that data that is valuable. So we should expect to see compounding results at some point. And that's because that's exactly what we've seen in the past from publishing on a weekly basis, 1 to 3 times per week when we were getting a lot of traffic from search engines. So in terms of how to allocate capital and how we're allocating our internal capital to actually solve this problem of lead generation, well, you think about yourself, but you also think about your team. So my time and attention is going constantly into the strategic thinking and assessment and reassessment again daily, just to kind of challenge assumptions, to see that this marketing system, this Grobo marketing flywheel actually gets implemented. Kind of my phrase for this week and for as long as it needs to be kind of top of mind is rubber on road. Rubber on road, meaning the wheels of the car, metaphorically speaking, representing like this new marketing system, the wheels need to be on the road so that we can move forward. Rubber on road. Because right now, I'm recording these videos, but we've been bottlenecked for a little over a week in terms of actually just getting the content edited and sliced and getting it out there and produced for publishing, so that we can actually get some data back and see, okay, what does everyone think? Do you and others like it? How do we improve? What topics should we talk more about? What should we talk less about? Where do people, have the biggest interest, for example? So to make that happen in terms of allocating my time and attention, part of that too is like getting the team on board, training them on the big picture, training them on their role, their responsibilities, what are they responsible for in terms of daily deliverables, and just holding everyone accountable as well for on-time delivery, and working with our chief of staff and our operations manager to make sure that happens as well. So the end result is that the marketing flywheel, we want to see it be turning 5 to 7 times per week. And again, the more loops that we're able to get in there, the faster that we can actually learn and grow. So in closing, execution, focus, perseverance, this is what I talked about in yesterday's video, where you need focused execution married with perseverance over a long period of time. And this is kind of like the key principle that I think separates entrepreneurs who grow up to a certain point in terms of revenue and versus other entrepreneurs who achieve 8, 9-figure success and even multi-billion-dollar success. And I would say execution in particular is one of the most difficult pieces that I think every entrepreneur, marketing director, and business owner really struggles with. And that's a big part of why I actually created Grobo in the first place, because I feel like my team is my secret weapon and was our secret weapon back in 2020, 2021 when we grew as fast as we did, 936%. Again, I couldn't do it all by myself. It's a lot to do. There are so many skill sets involved. And that's why I created Grobo, which offers on a flat subscription monthly basis a complete marketing fulfillment team, giving you 13 skill sets like copywriting, development, graphic design, web design, ads management, app management, and more. And you get it all for less than the cost of one full-time virtual assistant. So it's an incredible value. And this was our secret weapon when we grew by almost 1,000% from 2020 into 2021. So I encourage you, check it out. You can try it risk-free for 14 days. There are no contracts. And I think it might be an incredible resource for you to help scale your business. So check it out at grobo.com. And in closing, I want to ask you, what is your number one bottleneck and how are you going about allocating your resources, your capital, your time, your people, your team, yourself towards actually solving it today? All right, what are you doing today? Write it down, put it in front of you, and ask yourself this question on a day-to-day basis. It's going to help to hold yourself accountable. It's going to be, it's almost like a one-sentence coach. So, it's going to help to really move you forward. So do write it down and answer it. Answer it right now. What are you going to allocate resources to? What is that number one bottleneck? So in conclusion, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear from you. So please consider subscribing, liking the video, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you in terms of feedback. And if you found this video to be valuable, please consider sharing it with others who you think might benefit from it. So until next time, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep growing and stay focused.